It's Wednesday, July 22nd, 2020. Digital Trends Live is about to start. Here are some of the topics we're covering on the show today. As social media platforms ramp up their efforts to combat misinformation, Twitter's announced they're banning thousands of accounts associated with QAnon. And Elon Musk has been active on Twitter this week with a few announcements of his own, one of them being about an impending test of the Starhopper, which could one day take people to Mars. We'll also be joined by our own Andy Boxall to cover the latest news in mobile technology, like the announcements from OnePlus about the Nord and the newest gaming phone from Asus. Plus, a new documentary film entitled Stockton on My Mind, which follows the millennial mayor of Stockton, California, will be debuting on HBO on July 28th, and we'll be joined by the director, Mark Levin. All that and more on today's episode of Digital Trends Live. Yes, hello everyone. This is Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern, bringing you trending tech headlines, news, interviews, discussions, and more. So let's get it started right here with some trending news. Twitter is continuing their battle against misinformation and now going after QAnon. Yes, QAnon, the conspiracy theory-based loose organization that is online, they are getting banned. So what's going on here with this is that they are taking a look at people who are posting the conspiracy theories that QAnon does, activity associated with it, and that they're banning some of these accounts. So they said that they've actually banned about 7,000 different accounts that were taken down. They said they're going to be looking at this more and more as far as taking permanent action to suspend accounts tweeting, quote, about these topics that we know are engaged in violations of our multi-account policy, coordinating abuse around individual victims, or are attempting to evade a previous suspension. So people that are trying to coordinate attacks on, online attacks on other people, or trying to get around, suspensions like that. So this is something that they're doing. They've been going after misinformation campaigns quite a bit. This is one of the stances that Twitter's been dealing with. So that is where they're going now. So the QAnon conspiracy theorists may be going down depending on what they post on their platform. So 7,000 accounts for this initial run, but you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on with trending news, let's take a look at Facebook and Instagram. Certainly they have had some issues with their social media platforms as well, and now they are finally putting together some organizations, internal organizations, to take a look at racial bias with their algorithms. So this is something that's been accused and alleged for quite a while, that some of their algorithms are either inherently or intentionally racist, and this is something now that Facebook said that they are going to take a look at. So they've got a newly formed equity and inclusion team at Instagram that they said will examine how Black, Hispanic, and other minority users in the U.S. are affected by the company's algorithms, including its machine learning systems, and how those compare with other users, mainly white users, to see if there is a difference there. And this is, again, what they are reporting, and Facebook is also going to be creating a team like that as well. They don't have a name for it yet or a head for that, as far as we know, but they are going to be putting that together as well to take a look on their side of things. Facebook's kind of come under a lot of fire for a number of different things on their platform, including allowing hate speech and allegations of bullying and all the different kinds of things that are going on with that. But this is something now that they are coming to terms with. They're going to be actually studying their own algorithms to see what is going on there and if there are indeed biases that are in there. So that's something that you can take a look at digitaltrends.com. We've got more information, and we've actually got a lot of information about algorithmic discrimination in general and just how much of a problem it is. So you can read a lot about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on, let's talk about Facebook doing something else. They are rolling out a new feature for Messenger, and there are new privacy features that would allow you to actually protect your Messenger account from being opened by anybody. And this is what it is. So the first part of it is called App Lock. And what App Lock would do is for Messenger itself, so say you lend somebody your phone, well, Messenger would have to be opened with either a fingerprint or face authentication, so something like that. The normal privacy settings that are on there, this would be double privacy. Even if your phone is open, you would still have to do that to open Messenger, so that would make sure that people can't access your chats. It's currently available on iOS. It's going to be coming to Android in the next few months, but something that they're rolling out. The other part of this is that they're working on new controls that would allow who is able to message who. So say you're getting, you could control who can actually send you messages, if anybody can send you messages, and also the fact that if you received an unsolicited message, something else they're working on where that feature would blur whatever image it is that you maybe received that you didn't necessarily solicit. So that way you didn't have to see it in order to get rid of it. So that's a couple of different things they're working on there. So some new controls, again, to control who can message you, but also just the idea that app lock would allow you to keep your Messenger account secure even if somebody else is on your phone. Read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on, let's talk about Samsung. So they have a big event coming up on August 5th, their Galaxy Unpacked event, and we do know there's going to be a few different things coming out. They said there's going to be 5 power devices, but they've already released one of them early, and it is this. It's the Samsung Galaxy Z Flip 5G. So this is the third foldable screen phone that Samsung has put out, and really it's just the newest iteration of the Z Flip, which came out earlier this year. And that is their more traditional style phone as far as a flip phone. It doesn't open up like a book. It opens up like an old flip phone would, only the screen is foldable itself. This one now has 5G, that being really the big update to it. A couple of things. It's got 2 different cameras, a 12 megapixel ultra-wide sensor and a 12 megapixel wide sensor. It's got 8 gigs of RAM, 250 gigs of storage. A couple of key things too, and this is kind of a highlight that they've been posting for this upcoming event, is that it comes in Mystic Gray and Mystic Bronze. You see all the advertising that Samsung's been doing for Unpacked has that, what they're calling Mystic Bronze color. So that is something there. It's also going to have flex mode, which will allow you to watch, like, say, YouTube on the top half and scroll through comments on the bottom half of the foldable phone. So another addition there. And we do have a price. It's going to be $1,450. $1,450. That is what it's going to start out with. You can start ordering them pretty soon here. On August 7th, you can start, or you can purchase them. They'll be from Samsung, Best Buy, Amazon, T-Mobile, or AT&T. And that is what they're announcing here ahead of this. So we do expect there could be another foldable phone. The Fold 2 could be debuted there, but that is what we're seeing right now. So the Galaxy Z Flip 5G. There we go. Now you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com. Continuing on here with trending news, let's talk about this. Is just a weird one, and it has to do with something that Elon Musk is doing, and it is called Neuralink. Now, Neuralink is not new to us. We knew that he's been working on this. This is a company that's founded to essentially create implants for your brain that would then allow you to interface with computers, with the eventual goal being to merge humanity and computers in order to save humans. I know that sounds like a lot, but that is generally speaking what the ultimate goal is. But I got to start somewhere. So here's what he said. They're going to be making a big announcement about Neuralink and about where they're at coming soon. And he gave a little bit of information on Twitter answering some questions. So it was asked, if we implement Neuralink, can we listen to music directly from our chips? And Elon Musk replied with yes, that would be something that you would be able to do, is listen to music through the chip that they implant in your brain. So the way the implant would work, they've kind of gone over this before. It's a very small chip that would be actually resting on your brain. You'd be able to this is another thing that he said, that you'd be able to control neural networks for patients with obsessive compulsive disorder possibly. So you could maybe even control anxiety with it, control hormone levels, a lot going on with that. He'll be making that announcement later on here in the next month or so that you can find out more about it. But yeah, streaming music to your brain. That is something Elon Musk said Neuralink will be able to do. Read more about that at digitaltrends.com. And let's keep on the Elon theme. One more announcement too, and that has to do with Starship. Now we all know with Falcon 9 rockets what's going on with there, very successful. But the next iteration is the Starship, the Starhopper. These are the ones that would take people to the moon or Mars. And they've been doing a lot of testing on these, some successful, some not successful. We've seen some of the tests where they've blown up. Obviously, they're not piloted by any humans or anything like that, so nobody's hurt in these. But that is a video right there showcasing a successful one that they had previously. Now, he is saying that they're going to be testing it again, possibly this week. So that is what he said on Twitter. You know, we don't really know. He said we'll fly later this week. It's called the SN5. And this would be, again, another one of these tests to see how far up it can get. It, by some FAA reports, it could get up to 500 feet in the air and kind of showcase that. Hover, go from one platform to another, whatever it is that they're actually testing for. Still pretty cool to see. It looks like that's something completely out of sci-fi, but it's not. That is something that they're working on. And again, that's part of their overall goal with this program, is to get people to Mars and build a city there by 2050 is kind of what they're targeting. That changes a lot, but that's what they're at right now. So that could be the first step towards Mars that we could see later this week. And you can read more about that at digitaltrends.com.
Product of the day.
All right, our product of the day today is the Kindle Paperwhite. So this is what we're looking at here. It is the Kindle Paperwhite. It actually comes in 4 different colors: black, twilight, blue, plum, or sage. And it is the thinnest one that they've got. It's waterproof. That is a key feature. So if you are one of those lucky people sitting around a pool reading this, you get it wet, no big deal. It's waterproof. It also has 8 gigs of storage. You can kind of upgrade that if you want. Pairs with Audible. A single battery charge lasts weeks, according to them. It's also adjustable brightness, so you can read indoors or outdoors, day or night. And it, of course, is a Kindle, so it's hooked up to millions of different books that you can actually read through there. And it is on sale right now. So here's the deal. You follow the links that we're going to showcase here. And right now, the list price is $129.99. You can get it for $99.99. You can get it for $100. So it's 23% off right now. And on top of that, if that's the version with ads on it, you can also, for an extra $20, get the one without ads too. So you can just kind of toggle there to what you want. But still, it's a pretty good deal, and that's our product of the day. So follow that link that's below me or to the side of me or wherever you're watching. Just click the link and go through there and take a look at the Kindle Paperwhite. That's our product of the day. All right, we've got a lot coming up here on the show today, and I want to thank everybody for joining us and being a part of this. We do broadcast live here every single weekday, so if this is your first time, thanks for being a part of it. Up next, we've got Winnie Sun, who's going to be here to answer some important questions and help guide us. The stimulus package is running out. What do people do? That is a huge question, huge issue. She's going to help guide us on that. What do you do with your 401k? All kinds of questions. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us wherever you are. We appreciate it. We broadcast live here every weekday, so hit that subscribe button, and we help you answer a lot of questions. And there's certainly a lot of questions going on right now regarding the stimulus package and where we are at with that, and people who are running out of those $600 checks. Well, we've got Winnie Sun here, as usual, to answer and help guide us on these questions. Winnie, hello. Thank you for being here. And this is such a huge question that's going on right now for so many people.
Yes, Greg, thanks for having me. It is such a huge issue because we know that the $600 unemployment federal relief extra bump that's going to end at the end of the month, that clock is ticking, and it doesn't seem like our politicians are getting closer. So that is sort of the biggest concern that we have, whether or not they're going to be able to resolve this in the next 2 weeks, ideally, because we know that the Senate is only in Washington until August 7th. So we're hoping that we get color or information by the end of this month, and hopefully we get another round of stimulus funding by mid-August.
Do you think that's something that's going to happen? Would it be something, I mean, obviously we don't know for sure until they get back together for this, but is there any word that it could be a $600 extension, or would it be something else?
Well, right now the talk is that there will be an extension of unemployment relief on the federal relief side, but how much that will be is really the biggest question. Right now, there's talks of anywhere between $200 to $400 more, but not to that $600 level, because Republicans have said that they don't feel that they want to continue that $600 per week, because they say that that is keeping a lot of Americans from going back to work, because that $600 is just enough to make it so that it's more beneficial to stay home rather than go back to work. So we're seeing a smaller number, but nonetheless, I think you should know that there is definitely going to be, I definitely think there's going to be an amount no matter what, because if you don't give Americans who are unemployed that relief, they're going to end up having more financial problems, and that's really going to hurt the economy even more.
Now, what about the talk about the payroll tax and how there could have to be cuts to that? How does that factor in?
So President Trump has said that he's not going to sign the next stimulus bill unless it includes a payroll tax, either elimination or just going or a deduction or reduction. And the reason why that's a good thing and the bad thing, I want to explain that to you. First off, it's good in that both the employer and the employee split the cost of the payroll tax. So that means if you're working for someone or if you own a small business, that you're actually going to have more money in your pocket. The negative to that is, okay, that's great. That's helping people who are currently working. It doesn't really help people who are unemployed. And second off, if we don't collect that payroll tax, that also takes from our future, because that's where most of the Social Security payments come from, is that payroll tax. So we're basically robbing from our future by giving us a little bit of a break today, which doesn't even include everybody.
Wow. So with that, those kind of pros and cons there. Going from that, I know another thing that a lot of people were concerned with too were student loans and how those could be affected in this.
So student loans, great question. Now, those of you who have student loans right now, the good news is for many of you, you have forbearance until September 30th. And what that means is interest is not accruing on your student loans until September 30th. And hopefully that will get extended with this next stimulus package. But nonetheless, here's the deal. You don't need to rush to pay off your student loans between now and September 30th if you've got other bills that are like over your head. But if you're still working and you have the ability to pay, then I would highly recommend that you continue to pay and maybe even make an extra payment or two, because while you do that, you're chipping away against your principal and not interest, which means you're getting to pay off your student loans that much quicker between now and September 30th, and hopefully that'll get extended.
So going from there, talking about, from student loans, so definitely great advice, by the way, of everything that you're giving us here. A lot of information for a lot of people. Talking about that, going to something else, let's talk about just the stock market. Any idea on what people should be doing on to that end as far as investing, not investing? Everything's so stressful right now, it's kind of hard to understand it.
It is, Greg, and everyone is so stressed out. Financial anxiety is like higher than ever, and we were hearing a lot about that. The question is whether or not you should invest. So I think it really depends on a couple of factors. First, if you're watching the financial news right now, you know that a lot of analysts are feeling that, especially in the tech sector, that a lot of the stocks right now are overheated. And actually, some of the analysts are even saying that this gives them a feeling of the tech bubble before it blew up. Now, agree or disagree, we do know that a lot of stocks are doing quite well, and they were actually doing very well pre-pandemic. So that being said, if your time horizon is long, let's say you've got another 20, 30, 40 years until retirement, I don't suggest you completely stop investing if you still have income coming in. I do think you should continue to dollar cost average, which is just basically periodically investing maybe every 2 weeks. But that being said, it's okay to pull that back a little bit. Just because the market has been doing so well, I actually think it's not a bad idea to pull back a little bit on your contribution. So let's say, for example, in your 401k, you were contributing 10%. Maybe you pull it down to 5%. And then if you see weakness in the market, you can increase it at that point. But be really mindful. We've seen a lot of numbers coming out. Also, we're seeing a lot of unemployment data. So I want you to pay attention to that, because if we continue to see more unemployment and more industries, more companies, that can certainly pull the stock market down. And of course, I'd much rather you buy lower than higher.
Wow. I mean, this is just such, again, great advice that you're giving us here, and a lot of uncertainty going on right now, but it certainly helps to have all the information and your advice. And for everybody out there too, I want them to know where they can go to follow what you do, because you're always out there giving people information.
Thank you, Greg. So I do come on every single day. You can follow me all over social media, probably most active on Twitter. I do a market recap every day at 1:30 on all those social media channels as well.
So follow along Winnie Sun there. And Winnie, thank you as always. Really, really appreciate it.
Thank you, my friend. Talk to you soon.
Sounds good. Winnie Sun right here, always giving us great advice, and really do appreciate it. So you can go back and take a look at that segment too. There's a lot of information there, probably rewind it, watch it again. We'll have it up here after this show. But we've got more to continue on with right now. We've got Andy Boxall joining us next to talk about some of the latest developments in mobile technology, including OnePlus and some new gaming phone. So we've got that coming up. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us. Appreciate it. Let's keep you up to date with everything that is going on in technology, and that includes mobile technology and new phones, and we're talking about that right now. We've got our own Andy Boxall joining us to go through a couple of new ones. Andy, hello. Always great to have you here on the show. And which one of these do you want to talk about first?
It's almost too difficult to decide. It's genuinely been a great week for new phones. So let's talk about the Asus ROG Phone 3 first, because it's literally been announced in the last hour. And it's Asus's latest gaming smartphone. ROG is Republic of Gamers. That's their gaming brand. You've usually seen it on desktop computers and laptops and accessories and stuff like that. But for the last couple of years, they've made a smartphone dedicated to mobile gaming, which is a huge space. And what marks this one out as really special is the incredible specification. If you like numbers, this is the phone for you. It's got the new Snapdragon 865 Plus processor, which is the first mobile chip to go over 3 gigahertz clock speed. And it's got 16 gigabytes of RAM to go with it. I mean, I remember times when computers didn't do that.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's just amazing. And on the front is a massive 144 hertz refresh rate screen. So this means it's really smooth, and it's backed up with a 270 hertz touch sampling rate. So what that means is that when you play games, they look smooth and your inputs are precise, fast, and recognized immediately. So basically what Asus is saying is this phone makes you a better game player. And I've got to agree, I'm no big gamer, but I felt like an absolute champion playing this.
What kinds of games are available on it? Like what are they playing with it?
Well, this is an Android phone, so any game that you can download from the Google Play Store is available. But what it's aimed at is for people who are perhaps looking even at doing mobile gaming competitively. So people who play PUBG Mobile, people who play Fortnite, people who play really big multiplayer online games, and they play for hours per day. And this is a huge market. To me, I didn't even know really existed until I started learning about these phones. But hundreds of millions of people around the world play those games every day for hours. And this is the kind of phone that they will want because it has the tech that makes them better.
Is it, just two follow-up questions, is it 5G enabled, and did they give a price on it?
Yes, it does indeed have 5G. And this is going to come to the US before September. It's about to be released in Europe and other parts of the world first at the end of July, and then will be out in the US before September. In Europe, it's going to cost €1,099 for the 16 gigabyte version that I've got here. And it's almost, I'd say, a very good chance that that's going to convert over into dollars. So expect it to be around $1,100, which, considering the spec, is not that bad. Expensive, But I mean, if you're a spec sheet guy, then wow, this has got everything for that money.
That's pretty cool. I would love to try gaming something on that just to get the feel of it, something that's actually that fast. So that's again the Asus ROG Phone 3. So that just coming out, and he's got it right there. But then there's the other announcement from OnePlus with what they've got going on.
So OnePlus announced this week, the OnePlus Nord, and OnePlus started out making reasonably priced, very high spec phones. And then it kind of got waylaid and made ever more expensive flagship phones. The Nord is its return to reasonably priced phones. And what's really special here is that OnePlus hasn't forgotten how to do value. By which I mean it's not charging much money for this phone in the grand scheme of things. It's £380, which is about $480. But the tech that it's put in means this phone is going to last you for a good few years. You're not just going to buy a cheap phone and think next year I've got to replace it. It has 5G. It has a 90 hertz screen, which is lovely and smooth for long browsing and reading websites and things like that. It has software updates guaranteed for the next 2 years, which is something you don't really find on Android, certainly outside of a Pixel phone, or if you look at an iPhone. And then there's some very clever battery technology. Battery's a problem in some cheaper phones. It doesn't necessarily last the length of time the phone will. So what OnePlus has done is put some clever battery tech inside that when you charge your phone overnight, doesn't take it to 100% immediately. It keeps it at about 70 or 80% until the last minute when you're about to wake up, when it takes it to 100. The longer a battery spends at 100%, the less time it lasts over years. So this is what OnePlus has done to make sure your phone stays charging and fast and everything for at least 2 years. And to me, that makes this a really fantastic buy because you're getting a phone that will last. And not often you see that out of $1,000 phone.
Right, and that's something that it feels like, phone manufacturers, I know it's maybe not necessarily true, but it feels like they're always trying to get you to buy a new one. And that's an interesting take on this. So they're going to make your battery last longer, and they're going to give you updates. When is this one coming out, and what's that like pricing and all that look like?
So this is out now, sort of. It will be out officially, fully in August. But OnePlus has made the annoying decision not to sell the Nord directly in the US. So this is only for Europe and China and Hong Kong and India and Russia and all sorts of other places, just not the US yet. What they have said is that they've got big plans for a reasonably priced smartphone in the US. So probably what we're looking at with the Nord is a good example of what we'll see very soon, hopefully, in the US. So sub $500 is what they promised. This has come in at that at $480. So with a bit of luck, over the next few months, OnePlus will have a very similar phone to the Nord to bring to the US. But at the moment, you'd have to import one if you wanted to.
I love that idea of, sub 500 and last longer, and you get the updates. I mean, that's a pretty good strategy right there for me. Well, Andy, as always, thank you so much for being here with us and going through all of this. You've got the phones right there, and we've got all the details too at digitaltrends.com. So go there and follow along with all the news that's coming up. I'm sure we'll be talking about Samsung here in the next couple of weeks as we get closer to that as well. So definitely a lot of exciting stuff coming up for phones. And Andy, as always, thank you so much.
Pleasure. No problem. Thanks, Greg.
Andy Boxall right there. So like I said, follow along at digitaltrends.com for all the news when it comes to mobile technology. He's got you covered. All right, coming up next, there's a new documentary. It's going to be debuting on HBO, and we're going to have the director of that documentary joining us next. We've got Mark Levin on the show. He is a legendary documentary director, so really excited to have him here. Stick around, back in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Welcome back to Digital Trends Live. I'm Greg Nibbler, and again, thank you for joining us. Hit that subscribe button, share the show. We are here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. We get to have some great conversations on this show. I want to remind you, the documentary Stockton on My Mind, which follows the young mayor of Stockton, California, Michael Tubbs, is debuting on HBO on July 28th. And we're now joined by the 4-time Emmy Award-winning director of that documentary, Mark Levin. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us.
My pleasure, Greg. Good to see you out there in Portland. We're reading a lot about your city.
Yeah, we're in the news quite a bit. I imagine some people are making some documentaries about what's going on out here right now. But talking about you and this story for Stockton on My Mind, it is such an interesting topic, and I wondered if you could give us just a little bit of the backstory on it and how you came across this story of Michael Tubbs.
Sure. I first went to Stockton a while back because it was ground zero for the subprime mortgage meltdown in 2008. And I'd done a series of documentaries for HBO on how these major economic forces are impacting the lives of everyday people. And on one of my trips, I met this young city councilman who was 22 years old. And I remember we're talking, walking down the street, and he said to me, Oprah Winfrey supported my campaign, and she's only supported 2 other politicians. I said, who was that? And he said, Cory Booker and Barack Obama. So I said, well, that's some pretty good company you're in there, Michael. And I made a mental note I need to follow this young man. And then in 2016, when he was elected mayor on the same day that Trump was elected president, and he became the youngest mayor of a major U.S. city, I said, I need to go back out there and sit down with him. And that's how it all started.
I mean, that is, impressive just right out of the gate, just what he's accomplished there. For you, when you start approaching this from a documentary standpoint, I know it's probably hard to know exactly where the story is going to take you. So when you're filming this, how do you know when you're done with the film? How do you know when it's like, okay, this is time to stop filming?
You run out of money. But no, it's a good question. And this is a different kind of documentary in that it's not pre-scripted. You don't know what's going to happen. This is more in the classic verite vein of, you're following the story, and it may lead you unexpected places. And in this case, it did. I'll just give you a few examples of the unexpected places it led. We knew he had these innovative programs, the First Basic Income, pilot program, the Stockton Scholars, the Advanced Peace to, try to bring down gun violence and gang violence. But we didn't know we were going to get to his father. Okay, so that was huge. We're the first that got to Michael Tubbs Sr., who's in the California State Prison. And we didn't know we were going to find some young people that were kind of a mirror image of where his mother and father were a generation ago. In other words, his mom was a teenage mom at 16, and she went on and graduated, even carried him across the graduation stage. And lo and behold, we found a young woman, Joy, who was living the same story. In terms of, we found a young man, Isaiah, who also was in high school, but who had some troubles a little earlier in his life that caught up with him and was facing some criminal justice issues that were very much like Michael's father. So, you don't know. And then when Michael's wife and Michael announced that he was going to become a father, I think that was kind of when we said, okay, here, we've kind of come full circle. And we're going to wrap this thing up.
Wow. I mean, it's such an interesting topic and story. And I wonder for you, you said you made a mental note there, at one time talking to him, where you're like, okay, I'm going to keep that as a mental note of maybe coming back to this. How do you decide what you're going to make a film about? Because you've made so many great films and series. What is it for you that you're looking for when you want to make one?
Well, I think over the last 15 years, going back to really the Great Recession, and when we started Brick City with Cory Booker in Chicago, I think I've been looking for people on a grassroots level, on a local level, who are really making a difference and making change. I mean, sometimes it's easy to become cynical or to become lost in the lunacy of what's happening in Washington, the gridlock and the hyperpartisanship and all of that. And we forget that there are actually people making a difference every day on a local level. So I've kind of been attracted to and looking for these different agents of change, people who can inspire us, who's it's not just a PR thing, it's not just a marketing thing, it's really getting in there and trying to make a difference. And certainly, I put Michael right in that group. And in fact, look what's just happened the last few weeks. He's organized this group of mayors. I think it's called the Mayors for a Guaranteed Income. Mayors of Los Angeles, San Francisco, Oakland, Newark, New Jersey. I think over 12 mayors have all part of this coalition now that are all pushing for some kind of guaranteed income on a federal level. And this was an idea that when we started the film, and he was starting this guaranteed income pilot program in Stockton, this was like considered a far out idea. Well, look how in 18 months, how the world has changed. I mean, we have right now the Senate and the House debating in Washington, continuing a cash handout, because of this terrible pandemic and the economic crisis. So I think, it's this is kind of caught my interest, is to try to find those stories where people are actually making a difference.
What's one of the biggest trends that you've seen just in your career here in making documentaries, trends that maybe you've seen in the last 10 years, 5 years? Where do you see documentary filmmaking trending?
Well, there's no doubt that the streaming revolution, has kind of brought the docu-series, to the fore. It's now the dominant cultural. I mean, look at what happened in April. I mean, we had a series, actually, the I Promise series, that was on Quibi, and that was a new streaming platform. But the Michael Jordan, the Last Dance, that was like the major media discussion, a documentary series. Sports, because we've lost live sports. There's no doubt that sports documentaries have become dominant. There's the documentary field now, I feel, is kind of on the cutting edge of the cultural discussions and in terms of trying to get a pulse of where the American experience is at. It used to be, certainly when I grew up, it was the American novel, and then it was the American movie and European movies. Where people looked and discussed and hung out and debated. Now it's documentaries, and part of that is there's such a variety. Of different kinds of documentaries. There's the tribute documentary, like the John Lewis documentary. There's the crime, the unending crime, but all different kinds of ways of looking at criminal justice. Certainly that's a huge area. That's an area that I've been interested in for years. So I just think the variety of expression, the freedom of experimentation in the documentary form has now actually transcended what we see in features. And it's very exciting. In fact, it's overwhelming. I cannot keep up with all the documentary productions that I want to see and that friends of mine are making. I have like a long list, and it's tough. The Emmys are, I guess nominations will be announced next week. It's tough to keep up.
Yeah, there is so much content out there and so much great stuff. I mean, that's funny that you mentioned the sports documentaries too, and that style. And how big that is. One other question for you too, and I know I got to let you go, but this is
no, you don't have to let me go. I want to get involved in Portland. I'm looking to come out to Portland.
Let me know. I can tell you where to go.
Okay.
For one last question here for you about this is what one piece of technology do you think has made the biggest advancement for documentaries in the last 10 years?
Well, there's two. I mean, the accessibility of cameras now, that are, 2K, 4K, 6K that you can just carry around in your hand and run around with. But the editing technology is what's revolutionized everything. The digital editing, and this has been in the works for years, but now it's accessible. Every editor has got an Avid or a Premiere or a Final Cut at home, can work from home. Our company, Blowback, is kept working on all these projects because our editors are able to take drives and home and work and then over Vimeo, and even like what we're doing right now. So the digital post-production process is just revolutionized everything. In fact, it's allowed us to continue without stopping in the midst of this pandemic.
Wow. Mark, thank you so much for being here with us.
Let me just say one last thing. I just want to add one last thing because I think this speaks to what's happening in your community also. Michael Tubbs said at the beginning of the film, that his life was set up because his mother was a teenage mom, 16 years old. His dad was in prison most of his life. So he was set up to either follow his dad into prison or worse, to end up dead like his cousin did, sadly. And he set out to break that cycle, that generational cycle of violence and poverty. And the way he sums it up is he says, it's all about, I was going to upset the setup. And he's now said that is his mission, to make sure that so many others can upset the setup. And I think that what's happening in your community is part of that much larger just explosion in energy that we've seen all over the country in the wake of this pandemic, in the wake of what happened to George Floyd, this uprising, demanding racial equality, economic equality, and not content with this idea that we're just going to go back to the way it used to be. No, we're going to go forward. And I think in Portland, why I just wanted to say this is I think we see what the choice is clearly. On one hand, we could go forward into a frightening techno authoritarian mode, where you do have the kind of stormtroopers that you see have moved into your city, and that is a scary, scary vision. And on the other hand, I think people are looking for some kind of new social contract that really takes into regard what is the common good. How do we recalibrate this? What's the new paradigm? And I think the seeds of that are in a community, and many other communities, but are in a community like Stockton. That's what you see there. The seeds are being planted so that we can collectively upset the setup.
Upset the setup. That is such a great phrase. That seems like it could be a campaign phrase down the line too. So Michael Tubbs, this documentary, Stockton on My Mind, July 28th on HBO. Check it out. Mark, an honor to talk to you. This has been a pleasure. I love this conversation. Let us know if you want to come back on and talk any other time. Would always love to talk to you more. And if you want to know more about Portland, I can talk to you off the air. But Mark, thank you so much for being here with us.
All right. Appreciate it. Thank you.
Mark Levin here on Digital Trends Live. That was a great conversation. So I cannot wait to watch his documentary, Stockton on My Mind, on HBO, July 28th. Follow along with that. All right, we need to take a break because coming up next, we've got TBD, we've got Jess Serba, we've got Adrian Warner. We're going to join us here to talk about, well, I don't know. That's why it's TBD. So stick around, back here in a minute with more Digital Trends Live. Hello, this is Digital Trends Live, and I'm Greg Nibbler. Thanks for joining us. It is now time for a segment called TBD. Now, what is that about? I don't know. That's what our hosts are going to tell us. So joining us right now, we have Adrian Warner and Jess Serba hopping on the show. Jess, first to you. Hello, how you doing?
Hey, Greg. I'm wonderful. How are you?
I am good. I'm a little bit hot. I'm feeling a little bit hot right now, but that's okay. I can handle that. Also joining us, we have, that's probably too much information. We also have Adrian Warner. Hello, Adrian.
Hello, Greg. I won't ask how you're doing, but happy Wednesday.
Thank you. Thank you very much. It's warm in Portland. All right. So for TBD, obviously, we don't know what the topic is going to be until you tell us. So, Adrian, what is TBD about this week?
Well, Greg, this week's TBD is called The Biggest Draw because we're talking about one of the biggest summer events that happens every single year. And this year marks the 50th anniversary of this event. And I am, of course, talking about San Diego Comic-Con. Now, Greg, do you plan on attending any online events for this year's Comic-Con?
Yes, 100%. Because I've always wanted to go to San Diego Comic-Con, but I've never been able to. And yes, I want to go, but I don't even know what all they're doing.
Well, we are going to tell you about it. But first, I'm going to fill you in a little bit on what San Diego Comic-Con is. I'm pretty sure everybody has heard about Comic-Con at this point. Like, I would hope so, at least in one facet or another. But for anybody who may not have or may not really be familiar with what it is one of the biggest comic book conventions in the world, especially within the US. And it has been around for 50 years. It had its first convention way back in 1970, and it was touted as the first comic book convention in Southern California. It's obviously grown a lot since. It started as a 3-day expo. It's always been aimed at everything from comic book publishers, creators, fans, artists, etc., all for the appreciation and love of comics. And since 1970, it's grown into the largest convention today, with an average of over 130,000 attendees over 4 days each year. Yeah. And it's huge also in terms of, money and monetary value. It brings in over 9 million in revenue each year, 19 million, excuse me. And the actual economic impact on San Diego itself is even bigger than that. Now, obviously, this year is going to be a lot different with the pandemic in place, and I'll get into that a little bit. But first, how did it get so big? It's huge. It's like I said a bunch of times, it's one of the biggest in the world. And there's no real one answer to this. It's obviously beloved by fans and attendees alike, and people who are in the comic book industry. It's regarded kind of as a Super Bowl or the holy grail of comic book conventions. And in addition to its expo hall, where you can buy everything from, independent comics to like highly sought after rare collectibles, the San Diego Comic-Con has also seen a lot of celebrities over the years, which has kind of helped its rise in notoriety, and its proximity to to Hollywood helps with this. So it makes it a natural fit for really big, large scale panels. In the 90s, we saw a presence from, The Matrix and the first X-Men movie. And they've even opened a famous hall called Hall H, where you see a lot of celebrity appearances nowadays. Marvel Studios arrived in Hall H in 2007. And then the Avengers cast came around in 2010, and it has just snowballed from there, both in popularity and in terms of celebrity sightings, which is really cool. So this year, even though it's not in person, it is still the 50th year. It's still a really big moment, and maybe a little bit bittersweet because it's not in person, but people can actually still go. They can still attend, albeit online. And, even though it's a little bit bittersweet, more people will have access, and it is free. So it's being rebranded as Comic-Con at Home. It'll take place from today through July 26th. And if you did end up buying tickets for this year, you can either get a refund or you can go next year. Hopefully that one will be in person. There's expected to be over 350 panels featuring a bunch of actors, famous names from the world of television, movies, gaming, etc. So if you want to attend, all you have to do is go onto their YouTube page, hit subscribe, hit the notification bell, and then you can watch these panels for yourself that you might not have had access to if you couldn't go before.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. I will definitely do that as soon as we are done here. So, Jess, what else do we need to know?
Yeah, so as Adrian mentioned, there are over 350 panels happening. So there's definitely something for everyone. I pulled a few particularly interesting panels that I think that we should take a look at. First up is the Star Trek Universe virtual panels. These are happening tomorrow on Thursday, and it's comprised of several different panels. Deadline senior editor Dominic Patton is moderating the overall Star Trek Universe panels. It starts with an introduction and discussion with Alex Kurtzman and Heather Caden, who are the executive producers at Secret Hideout, which is the television production company that's known for the recent incarnations of Star Trek. They're going to go ahead and give a little bit of a glimpse into what's ahead in this ever expanding franchise. We'll also see the cast of Star Trek Discovery reprise their roles in a virtual table read of the season 2 finale, Such Sweet Sorrow Part 2, which I think is really cool, very interesting. And that will be followed as well by a brief cast Q&A. Mike McMahon, the creator, showrunner, and executive producer of the upcoming animated comedy Star Trek Lower Decks, which does premiere Thursday, August 6th on CBS, will debut an exclusive extended cut, but first look of the premiere episode. The show actually focuses on the support crew of one of the Starfleet's least important ships, the USS Cerritos, in the year 2380. He'll also be moderating a panel with cast members there as well. And finally, Patrick Stewart and the cast of the hit original series Star Trek Picard come together for the first time post-finale to discuss the first season. So that clearly is something not to miss. Going on, we have The Boys Season 2. They'll be having a panel.
Yes.
It's also on Thursday. Yeah, a really good one. The executive producer, Eric Kripke, along with series stars including Carl Urban, Jack Quaid, Anthony Starr, and Erin Moriarty, among others, will be giving a behind-the-scenes look at the upcoming second season. Aisha Tyler will be moderating, and for those that don't know, this is a series based on the comic book of the same name, and it's a take on kind of what happens when superheroes who people, view as celebrities start to abuse their superpowers rather than use them for good. Executive producer Seth Rogen and Evan Goldberg will also be making a special appearance. So again, something to look out for sure on Thursday. And then we have Bill and Ted Face the Music. This panel will be happening on Saturday. It includes Keanu Reeves, Alex Winter, Samara Weaving, Bridget Lundy Payne, William Sadler, director Dean Pariseau, and alongside writers Ed Solomon and Chris Matheson. And this is all being moderated by filmmaker and fan Kevin Smith. So such a list there. Like you can't miss this. This just feels like a don't miss. The film actually releases on August 28th, and it is, as most people know, the third installment in this film series. The premise is that a visitor from the future tell Bill and Ted that one of their songs can save life as we know it and bring harmony to the universe. And then we see what happens next. So definitely check that one out. Finally, on Saturday as well, we have a panel for What We Do in the Shadows. What We Do in the Shadows is a mockumentary, basically documenting the nightly exploits of vampire roommates as they navigate the modern world of Staten Island with the help of their human familiar, Guillermo. Just about everyone I know is obsessed with this show. So I know a lot of people that will be checking this out, including Adrian, I know for sure, and Greg, actually. You're both huge fans. So the cast, Matt Berry, Natasha Demetriou, Kayvan Novak, Mark Proksch, and Harvey Guillen, as well as the creative team, will be joining for a discussion hosted by special guest Haley Joel Osment. So definitely one to see. Yeah, really looking forward to these. Like I said, there are a bunch of other ones, but I think the spotlight definitely is on these for me.
I love every single one of those panels, and as just a regular human guy, I definitely want to watch the What We Do in the Shadows. Jacket and Tona. All right, I had to get it in there. That is awesome. I cannot wait. Thank you so much for all that info on Comic-Con. That is awesome. All right, I know we've got one other thing here, though, for TBD, and that is, of course, Kick Stop It. So what is our product today?
So our Kick Stop It product today is something that we have been kind of looking at for maybe a week or so and kind of just pondering over a little bit. It's called the Colony Cleanup, and it is a bag that you take along on your hikes for picking up trash and storing trash on your hikes so that there's, not litter on the trails. It's a nylon bag, quick drying. You can wash it, has a zipper on the bottom, pouch kind of on the top for picking up bottles, dog poop, things like that. You can stick a liner in it or fold it up just like any other bag. So we're a little bit perplexed on why this is a thing. It just seems like a bag.
Yeah.
So
it's a bag.
It's a trash bag.
It's a bag. Yep. It's a separate bag for your trash.
From your other bags that you're also likely carrying when you're out hiking. I mean,
Okay,
it's great. You know what it reminds me of? It reminds me of one of those things, like in the early 2000s in my car that you put on the back of the seat with the trash, to put in. You know what I'm talking about? You remember those?
Yeah. Yeah, I do.
That's even an option for how you could hang it up or wear it. You can wear it 3 ways, like a backpack or like a purse or a fanny pack, in addition to all your other bags that you're carrying. My question is, these people are just going hiking. How much trash do they have for their hike? What are you bringing in that you?
Well, my other question is this is enough.
To put all
you
your
can probably fit one can in there, and then you're done. So.
Okay. Yeah. So it's a fancy trash bag. There's a lot of
pondering, Greg. We've really been thinking about this one.
Okay. Well, then I guess we got to go to Kick Stop It or Kick Start It. Adrian, how do you feel?
I think this is a Kick Stop It for sure. Nothing that I need. I'm pretty sure all of my other bags can take care of this problem for me.
So Kick Stop It from Adrian. Jess?
Yeah, I just don't know why I need to buy another bag to put in my bags to take with my bags hiking. I also accidentally read it as colon cleanup when I first saw it, and that just, I think, threw me a little far out. So, Kick Stop It.
Yeah, it's okay, fair enough. Colon cleanup. Now that just actually doubled down. Now, I've got to kick stop this thing. I don't need an extra bag for my trash. All right, Kick Stop It. Well, TBD, as always, great segment. I know we got to close it out with Charlie Cam, though, because that's how we have to end every segment. There he is.
Oh, he's getting some sun.
Oh, he's sunning himself.
Blowing in the wind. Look at him. Adorable.
Charlie Cam right there. Adrian and Jess, thank you so much. Another great edition of TBD, and I will talk to you both soon.
Thanks, Greg.
Thanks, Greg.
All right, thank you everybody for joining us here on Digital Trends Live. We appreciate it so much. We broadcast live here every single weekday, 9 a.m. Pacific, noon Eastern. Each show is different. Tomorrow, we've got Lisa Marie Segar to talk about gaming news. We've got Rick Marshall, who's going to be joining us here on the show. We've also got actor Jeremy Allen White, who's going to be on, Lip from Shameless. He's going to be here on the show, too. So every day, something new for you, something exciting. We've got new tech news for you, as always, keeping you up to date with that. So hit subscribe, share the show, tell a friend. I'm Greg Nibbler. I'll be right back here tomorrow with another edition of Digital Trends Live.